David Barry reporting for Jewish Online Magazine outside the Natural History Museum in London. Our special guest is Yoram Hazony, founder of the prestigious Shalom Center in Jerusalem. He has authored a new book called The Philosophy of Hebrew Scipture, published by Cambridge University Press. Before he joined the Chief Rabbi, Lord Sachs, for a discussion about this book at the Natural History Museum, I was lucky enough to talk to him. Thank you for joining Jewish Online Magazine.
Oh, thank you very much. Good to be here. Thank you.
Can I begin by asking you, the Bible is based upon the theme of faith. Does this pose a potential conflict with the belief of philosophy?
Well, why would you think that the Bible is based on the theme of faith? I mean, certainly the Bible has faith in it. It's one of its themes. But freedom is a theme. Morality is a theme. The just perfect order, the just political order is a theme. There are many themes in the Bible. And in fact, I think one of the mistakes that people make is to caricature 1,000 pages of works by many different authors, written over hundreds of years, as though they're all about one single thing and only faith. And that's exactly what's, I think, why we need work such as the one that I've proposed.
And what inspired you to write this book?
Well, exactly this kind of thing. I mean, I find it very difficult to hear people speaking about the Bible, attacking it, dismissing it, or defending it, and doing so with such a simplistic caricature of what in fact is the content. And so there's a great deal to be said about faith in the Bible. Abraham has more faith. Moses has a little bit less. You know, Moses is actually punished. He doesn't enter the land of Israel. God says, because of difficulties and questions that Moses has. But those questions aren't questions that the Bible disregards. The questioning is central to the Hebrew scriptural message.
Do you expect non-believers, atheists, reading your book to gain a new perspective on the Bible?
Well, I sort of hope everybody's going to gain something from it. You know, the assertion that the Bible is a book that just expects us to obey and to believe things even if they're absurd, as though it's preoccupied almost exclusively with miracles or the afterlife. That's something that is very common to hear people say. I mean, certainly it's true that the further away from Scripture you are, and the less you read it, the more you believe such things. But there are religious people who say such things. In the history of religion, there was famously Tertullian, and closer to our own time we have people like Kierkegaard or C.S. Lewis, who do paint a picture of Scripture as being something like that. And what I hope to do is to open the book for people from all backgrounds. You definitely don't need to believe in God in order to understand the argument or to benefit from it in the book. But I'm hoping everybody will gain something from it.
Does the book deal with philosophical issues like, for instance, why do bad things happen to good people?
Well, you know, there's a version of this question already at the very beginning of the Bible. I mean, when Abraham challenges God about whether God, he says, challenges God about the destruction of Sodom. The question is exactly, are you really going to run the world in such a way that bad things are going to happen to good people? And Moses's issues with faith are precisely about this, that, you know, God of Israel comes after 200 years of the Hebrews have been enslaved and persecuted, and the blood of their children has been shed. And after 200 years, God says to Moses, well, you know, I've heard their cry, and so I'm going to save them. I'm going to save them by sending you. And Moses is really quite unsure about this. He's unsure about it at the very beginning, and later, after the sin of the golden calf, God says to Moses, well, I'm going to destroy this people. And Moses' reaction is, he's furious. He says, well, you promised that you were going to take this people to the land of Israel. That was your promise. Now, is there a God who keeps his promises in this world, or isn't there? That's your question already there at the very beginning. Moses is asking, is it possible to see this world as being one in which justice is done? Or is it not quite like that? Mm. And to be sure, the Bible proposes, and Moses proposes, that God is a faithful God and that ultimately justice is done. Mm. But there's so many questions raised, including by Moses himself, that it's not the answer is not completely unequivocal.
Just two more quick questions, because I know time is pressing. Your promotional video was very inspiring. Was that your aim?
Well, the book has much more than the video does. I mean, the video is only 4 minutes long. Mm. So the video gives, it's an attempt to make an entertaining version, which is nonetheless accurate to what's in the book, but it's also not, it's not terribly deep. I hope it's a little bit inspiring and a little bit funny, but the goal is to draw you in. You really, if you want to see the message in a more sophisticated form, then I suggest reading the book.
And my last question, are you proud of the impressive accreditations your book has received?
Well, it doesn't get much better than having having Rabbi Sachs endorse the book, and I'm really quite grateful to him for it. We also have a lovely endorsement from Eleanor Stump, who is the president of the Society of Christian Philosophers. And that's also very meaningful to me, to be able to receive endorsements for both those directions. And we have Steven Pinker, who's not a religious thinker, but just an important thinker, who's often seen as being critical of this kinds of things, but in fact, we've had some very good discussions on the subject, and I think the endorsements suggest what I think is true of the book, that many different kinds of people can get things out of it, and it's really a pleasure to have the help of these important people.
And who do you think the readers of this book will be?
Just about everybody. I think probably you need to be interested in ideas. But if you're interested in ideas, I think that you can be interested in this. Okay. There's something for everybody in it.
Thank you ever so much for your time, Yoram Hazony, and congratulations and mazal tov on your new book.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.